What is going on? It is Robert Reynolds, and welcome to the DGD podcast. As always, you know me as the NCDGD. With that being said, though, let's go ahead and there's a lot that's went on this past weekend, so there's a lot to cover. First off, listen, lots of rain watches right there. Use code DGD at checkout to get 10% off your purchase site wide. Also, let's get into it with the brigade. Happy Monday for those in the brigade. Let's have a great show. And with that being said, let's get started. Michael B says, here we go, and absolutely so. All right, first off, in the comments, let me know what you're thinking. As Mr. Top Dog Talk says, Robert, right? There we go. All right, listen, a lot to get started here. Obviously, big weekend, I should say, for Georgia and this recruiting class of 2023. Listen, I think I'm going to go ahead and do this. This picture might go down as one of the hardest and probably the most notorious in this cycle. You know, you've had them in the past. This right here, I think this absolutely is just insane. I love this photo. I absolutely love it. And if you're a Georgia fan, I think you should too. No doubt about it. Obviously, you got the coaching staff. You've got Pup Howard. You've got Tyler Williams, Jonah Aguero, right? Shams, and I didn't even count Jamal Jarrett. As y'all know how I am with Jamal, but nonetheless, listen. It might not have been a star-studded weekend like you saw the first weekend of June, but I'm telling you, this right here has the makeup for a significant and very crucial part of this cycle. For the 23 class of Georgia, right? Listen, a lot of photos coming out. I'm telling you, a lot of photos. And listen, I think you look at guys like Tyler Williams, receiver, right? Big-bodied receiver, very crucial part of this class if Georgia's able to land him. Pup Howard is another guy. I think all these guys that were in this photo are absolutely huge needs here, right? Huge needs. If you're a Georgia Bulldog fan, you want every one of those guys because they all fit position. Huge. Let's see, where was it here? But before, I got to do this because it makes perfect sense. How Georgia recruits and how our friends down in Gainesville recruit. I don't know if anybody's seen this. If you have, awesome. If not, welcome to I don't even understand what this is. It literally looks like noodles drowning in sauce. Wings that kind of, I don't know. It looked like they've been out in the sun too much. If that's the best you can do, Florida, you've got a lot to learn on recruiting. Let us know in the comments what you think of that. I don't know if I'd want that, and I love mac and cheese. Just giving you that in that regard. Friends in Gainesville, come on, man. I mean, you know what? You're absolutely right. Definitely being sarcastic there. Just letting you know. But yeah, those wings literally look like they sat out in the sun for 2 days and got too much sun. Got sun poison or something. I don't even know what to tell you those are, Harrison. I don't know. They look terrible though, and a bunch of other kids will tell you the same thing. That shit looked ugly. It literally looked like I don't even know what to put it. Words can't describe how terrible that looked to me. Just saying. It was rough. It was absolutely rough. But listen, obviously you sit there. There were some recruiting photos that I want to kind of talk about here for takeaways, right? And kind of talk about why these are important. Okay. First off, you got right here. We'll do this right here. Jonah Aguero, right? Jonah Aguero, huge position in need safety here. And listen, people can call these corny if you want. I've seen worse for damn sure. But that shit goes hard, okay? It definitely goes hard. I ain't even mad about it. It's just one of those things that you're like, oh yeah, absolutely. From one safety to another, right? There's a lot of, subliminal messages there, and I'm a-okay with that. I'm completely okay with that. Michael, going back to Florida, spending money on cars, spending money on cars, can't afford decent food. Apparently so, man. That looks like scraps from the local Denny's or something. I don't even know. I don't even know what to tell you about that. And absolutely, he had to. Okay, absolutely, absolutely had to do that to him, Harrison. They get what they deserve. You want to rent a damn Lamborghini, but you can't give them good food. Kids will pay attention. I think that's what this Facebook user says here as well. So, obviously you got listen. Going back, listen, y'all get me on a rant, it's gonna be over. But with that being said, obviously Jonah Aguero is a huge, huge piece in the safety in the DB class, right? I think you've got to get him, um, and that's another kid that I'm excited for. I think Georgia does get him, right? With that being said, we're gonna look over here. We've got, oh man, we got Jonell, right? And Tyler Williams. Tyler Williams, I think if you're not familiar with him, I definitely think you should be familiar with him by now. Or if not, please do so immediately. The kid, excellent, excellent kid, excellent prospect from a receiver position. What Coach BMAC is looking for in a receiver, right? Florida boy, 6'3", insanely fast. To me, I think he fits what Georgia is looking for, and I think that's the kind of go-to guy. Him, if Georgia can land him and Jalen Hill, obviously Jalen Hill visited last weekend. Definitely think that's going to be a huge addition to this Georgia receiving class. No doubt about that. Absolutely no doubt about that. Moving on, I'm trying not to go too far ahead, but let's talk Pup Howard here, right? Pup Howard is a linebacker, another guy that I think Georgia could absolutely use. Listen, there you could see three outside linebacker or three linebackers, maybe even four in this cycle from Glenn Schumann. And honestly, I think they're an absolutely position in need, and rightfully so, right? I think Raylan Wilson's a kid that came in last week. Um, and Pup Howard's just another guy that definitely would fit, in Georgia's system and their scheme defensively. Excellent addition to what Georgia's already got there. As you can see him pictured with Jamal Jarrett, which we are going to go heavy on in just a second. Georgia and Kirby putting in that recruiting work. Absolutely. Absolutely. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this. Big Jaw. Okay. Big Jaw. So I think everybody is familiar with Jamal Jarrett by now. If you've watched the show, you understand. I told you about anything I can tell you about him. Listen, you have to get this kid. You have to land Jamal Jarrett if you're Georgia. You absolutely have to. No question about it, guys. Not a question. You have to land him. Obviously you're looking at, him obviously coming off the Georgia recap or Georgia visit this past weekend, week before going to Auburn, UNC the week before that. I think he's scheduled to go to A&M this weekend, getting those visits out of the way. But listen, I think as you can see here, excuse me. Oh, as you can see here, even Kristen Miller is starting the hashtag We Want Big Job trend here, right? And rightfully so, right? Obviously, he's uncommitted. So if you're listening, make sure you let him know where his next home is. That's all I'm going to say. But Kristen Miller hosted him over the weekend. Listen, if you're a Georgia fan, if Kristen Miller is hosting any player, you are smiling from ear to ear. There's no question about it. The kid is infectious with energy, and is literally a bulldog through and through. There's no question about that. So if you're a Georgia fan, seeing, look, obviously you got this picture right here. You got Jalen Walker. You got Jordan Davis that made a surprise visit in as well this past weekend. If you are a Georgia Bulldog fan, you are loving the weekend that this man just had. There's no question about it. The fact that Jordan Davis flies in from Philly to come in and help recruit, Like I said, Kristen Miller hosting. Uh, listen, all these pieces are adding up to put Jamal Jarrett and put Georgia as his leader, in my opinion, and clearing, making even more of a gap between first and second place, right? I'm thinking it's a Georgia Carolina battle, but we shall see. Obviously, listen, you've got Clemson, LSU, A&M, right? Still in the mix, right? Auburn as well. Don't count out Auburn in this, strangely enough, but we shall see uh, where things go. There was a bunch of different photos that I saw. It was just insane um, where things stood after this weekend. If you're in the comments, let me know. Let me know who you were most excited to see and hear of recap this past weekend. Let us know in the comments there wherever you're watching. Patrick, the 63 to 3 or the DGD says, "What's up, dogs? What is going on?" But I think you look at it this way right here. You look at what Georgia had done in the first weekend of June. Right now, they're 2 for 2 when it comes to recruiting weekends. Listen, there's no doubt about having Arch Manning on your campus and the fact that things went well. That's a home run to begin with. That's if he has a good time when he's on an official visit. If he has a good time like that, you have to consider that a home run for a weekend. You sit there, you go look back right here. Jamal raving about his visit. Right, Tyler Williams wants to come back. Things like that. You hear all these folks on social media, all these kids. Sounds like a home run again, right? So as you look forward to each week in June, right, what does this mean for Georgia? I think you look at recruitments. Obviously soaking in these official visits right now, right, for June, you might see a pop here or there, right? I think you'll see that eventually. At the same time, I think you look at it in a sense of maybe you start to see something in July, right? You start to see these fruits pay off in July. And I think you can do that. As Facebook user says, I worry about all recruits, but I would really like to get ours. And I think everybody does. Listen, I know he just came off of an Alabama visit this past weekend. Right now, nobody really knows. So you just sit there, you feel optimistic, and you just wait and see. With Arch, something is said by that, by him or whatever. I think that's just the way that's got to be. But listen, you about each week, right? There's been some big names. Now, like I said, this past weekend, it wasn't as high profile as you guys like Arch Manning, right? Jalen Hill. But I'm telling you, y'all just saw it. Still some very crucial pieces. I didn't even mention Shams. Didn't even mention. Listen, I think that's a must-have for your offensive line. You got this kid is excellent kid, excellent prospect. I think you have to get him if you're Georgia. So Georgia probably, in my opinion, you have to put the full court press on him as well. Seems like his family had an excellent time as well, right? I think that's key there, right? I think that's an important thing for families to be able to soak it in and have a great time, right? That's the key. And I just have the feeling that no matter what visits Manning goes on, we are still his favorite. And listen, right now, I think so too. I think if you had to put a percentage on it, as crazy as this sounds, I'm going to be the one to do it. I think you look at Georgia, in my feeling, 70-30 for now. I say for now because you still have to worry about, what we hear from his Bama visit, what we hear from Texas coming up. I think that's the most important one. If you're a Georgia Bulldog fan, you have to keep up with what happens on that Texas visit. There's no question about it. Absolutely. Crucial to watch, right? There's speculation that, and kind of logical to me, that, with Eli Holstein committed to Alabama, right, it's kind of, to me, it kind of puts them out, separates that gap and basically puts it as a Texas-Georgia battle, right? I think you have to look at it that way, or at least I do. But at the same time, it's one of those things where we just have to wait and see. But I'm going to go pull this back up because people need to understand that, you have these recruiting class photos, right? You look back to like the Brock Vandegrift and Oscar Delp. all that stuff. I think Brock Bowers and all that, those photos throughout the day, right back in the recruiting cycles that back in the day, and it's iconic. It really is. So when you look at something like this, who's to say that all these guys don't commit and are part of this class? I'm not saying they all are, but what if, right? What if these guys do commit and all of them are part of this class? What does that mean? Right, you can look back at this photo. If you can't see it, I'm sorry, but you look back at this photo and you see guys like Pup Howard, Jamal Jarrett, Shams, you know, Raquez, right? Tyler Williams, Jonah Aguero, all those guys. What if all those guys are in this class come next year and when the cycle actually closes? How iconic is that, right? You can look back on this weekend and be like, wow, okay, right? It's just wow. So there's a lot to look forward to with these weekends, even if there's not a high-profile name like an Arch Manning, right? I think Arch Manning is probably the most high-profile recruit you'll ever experience in a very long time, if that. So you're not, just because he's not there, that's okay. But you look at the key pieces to this class, very crucial parts to this class that needs to be taken care of. Right? I think you try to like I said, I think you put the full court press on Jamal Jarrett. I think you did that on Tyler Williams as well. I'm sure to some degree you do that to every guy. But when you look at guys like Jonah Aguero, right? Pup Howard's another guy I think that would easily be a take in this class. Easily. Right? Jamal Jarrett. Listen, if Jamal wants to commit today, he could. Like, there's no question about it. Georgia needs him, and they know that, and he knows that. So it's just a matter of letting it go, right? Keep making sure you're a priority. Simple as that. But looking at what this weekend just brought out, right? It shows you that Georgia is pushing and using its big guns to try to get these guys, right? And like I said, you saw it here, right? Even Kristen Miller, I think from my perspective, all dog fans love this guy, right? So you've got Kristen Miller with Jordan Davis, right? That speaks volumes, at least to me, what Georgia is doing to try to get Jamal Jarrett. And in my opinion, and I'm taking my bias out of this, guys. Jamal Jarrett could be arguably one of the most important pieces to this class because of what Jordan Davis did and how it has changed Georgia's recruiting perspective from the defensive line position, right? Since Jordan Davis, you have seen an influx of large, absolutely mammoth individuals that Georgia is recruiting to try to build and bring into this line, on this defensive line. Jamal Jarrett's that guy, right? Whether if Jamal Jarrett commits, then you get to look at what is it, Sadir Mitchell? Maybe, who knows, right? Definitely would love to have Sadir as well. Right? But I think, like I said, Jamal Jarrett is a huge, absolutely must have if you were Georgia and you want to continue your recruiting prowess along that defensive line. He's the next guy in line. There's no question about it. And you see that with guys like Kristen Miller hosting and helping recruit Jamal Jarrett. That's a big deal if you're a Georgia fan. It's a huge deal, right? Sometimes you look at who's hosting. That's calculated. Like, obviously, if you're not familiar with it, it's calculated. So with that being said, having Kristen Miller with Jamal Jarrett, having Jordan Davis come in, that's it. Yeah, that's calculated as well. They know what they're doing. Listen, everybody knows Jamal's, compared to Jordan Davis anyway, right? We saw the photo back in January at the parade, right? That's when most Georgia fans really got to know Jamal Jarrett and what he's about, right? If you've been here since before that, you kind of get where I'm going, because I've been saying this since September, October. My man's the next Jordan Davis. Measurables. I'm not going to say he's a 4.78 guy, but at the same time, from a measurable standpoint, he's got a lot of the same backstory, right? At the time, he was a 3-star. Right? He's now a top 200 player. People pay attention to that. People know, right? People get it. Slowly getting there. On 3, I'm calling you out there. Get your stuff together. Once the updates, I'm telling you, you'll probably see him crack the top 100 or right outside, in my opinion. This kid's just too damn good. Just wait till this season. Promise you. But obviously, look, I think you also look back at Jonah Aguero. Jordan Aguero is a huge piece as well, and he could be, you could argue that he's more important than anybody else in this class, on the defensive side of the ball, right? Um, how Kirby values the secondary, how he values the safety position, kind of shows you that, right? It all matters. So you can, like I said, in the comments, let me know who you're most excited about from this past weekend. Who are you most excited to see in this class? Who do you want in this class? The one person, if you could have them guaranteed, who would it be? Drop them in the comments. As we read here, now you see why Saban hated Kirby leaving Bama and coming to Georgia. He wouldn't admit it, but he knew deep down that it would be the end of him at Bama. Yes and no. Yes and no, Facebook user. Saban is able to adapt so well. He's so used to and accustomed to this turnover, right? That he figures it out. Now, to your point, I do think from a defensive standpoint, the Alabama's defense has changed since Kirby left. I will agree with that. But it is not the end of Saban there. Saban will probably die on the football field. He just will. Michael B. also states Hakeem Williams. I think Hakeem is coming on a visit this week. Perhaps, if I'm not mistaken, I will have to do some research there to confirm. But if I'm not mistaken, I read that he will be coming this weekend. And that's another guy. That's another guy that, you're not out of it if you're Georgia, right? But there's an uphill battle there. But the fact that he's considering it coming on a visit is a very good sign if you're a Georgia fan. No questions asked. So going back to the Saban situation, but he's not adapt to adjusting for Kirby. It depends on how you view things like that, right? Kirby's level of defense is a lot different than what they're used to, but also Saban took and adapted, right, offensively. Think about what he did offensively, right? Around the same time that Kirby left, you also saw the offensive identity change, right? Look at what they used to have from a running back standpoint. Go back to Derrick Henry, right? I was going to say 6'3", 6'4", 220 or 240, sorry. Now you look at what they're expected to bring now as their starting running back potentially, right? And you look at Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs is like 5'11", 6 foot, 200, 220, something like that. That's a 40-pound difference. Changed his identity of Alabama's program to an offensive identity, right? I'm not saying that their defense is no slouch, but it might not be the same level that you're talking about when Kirby was there. But at the same time, understand that the game has changed as well. And listen, and you can claim whatever for Alabama. Saban took Lane Kiffin, applied his concepts, and rolled with it. Because before Lane Kiffin came, can you tell me a quarterback that was even close to a Heisman finalist? I mean, you had game managers, man. That was the key, right? Nowadays, you have Heisman caliber quarterbacks, Heisman winning quarterbacks. You have Jamison Williams. You have Devontae Smith that won a Heisman, right? You're seeing the offense become the juggernaut at Bama, if you will. Not necessarily putting the defense on the back burner. They're still going to have a great defense. I'm telling you right now, if you're sleeping on Bama's defense, you must not know about Will Anderson and Dallas Turner, and that is a problem. That is an absolute problem. So their defense stepped down, but they took and elevated the offense, changed the identity completely, and that has elevated Alabama to adapt to the modern game, being able to throw up points on people, right? But you going back to what Kirby established defensively, Georgia kind of took a different approach to win a national title this year. So you look at what Kirby did, elite defense, right? Arguably historic defense, depending on how you look at it. Pairing it with an efficient offense, right? May not be the game managing type offense that you would see on, right, in years past of Alabama when Kirby was at Alabama. You saw more efficient offense, more balanced offense at that point, right? Kirby shows you the recipe is there's multiple recipes to get it done. Basically is where I'm going at. So excellent question, right? Moving back to, though, what Michael was talking about with Hakeem. Listen, Hakeem Williams, if Georgia lands him, you have the potential to be a transcendent receiver. And I'm not talking from the tight end position. Hakeem Williams is that guy. I think he could be that guy. Kid is amazing to watch. Amazing to watch. Absolutely brilliant to watch. It's very, very fast, long body, South Florida kid. Kind of see the trend here with BMAC, right? Just what you're going to see here. Simple enough. Simple enough. Will Anderson is a special kind of beast. And unfortunately, it's a shame that we let him get out of our state. But at the same time, this is why you're starting to see recruiting mentalities change. Georgia has adapted to that, and I think you're seeing that, right? Just because they're not a 4-star, 5-star doesn't mean anything. They're evaluating the in-state talent heavily to make sure another situation like Will Anderson does not happen. Because, you could see Will Anderson. Just imagine if Will Anderson was on this defense. Things can happen, right? Coulda, woulda, shoulda at this point, though. If the recruiting mentality was that when Will Anderson was still recruiting, what we're seeing now, there's a good chance that he's at Georgia at this time. And how would that look? That's the question. You know what I mean? That's just what you could see, right? But he's at Alabama, right? So, listen, I think I'm very content with what we have. But like I said, you're seeing those changes, and that recruiting mentality is paying off because you're seeing guys that might be 3-star underrated guys, right? Not getting overlooked anymore. And that right there, for the longevity of Georgia's program, that's what you got to do. Michael B says he would also love to get Caleb Downs. Yeah, Caleb Downs, obviously, if you're not familiar, Caleb Downs was on an official visit last week with Arch and everything. Listen, that's the number one guy in Georgia. You have to get this man. You have to. There's no question about it. If he goes to a place like Ohio State or Alabama, that is painful to see. Absolutely devastating to see, for that matter. So you can't let that happen. So make sure that Caleb Downs is a dog, is all I'm going to say there. That's easy to say. Super simple. Thanks, Michael, for that. Yeah, definitely good. Yeah, definitely a good player to get. I think you look at Jalen Hill as well. I know Mike's been talking about Jalen as well. Listen, Jalen's another guy. Excellent receiver as well. That's another guy. And listen, I hate these talks, but there's the possibility of a package deal, right, with him and Arch now that's been speculated. And if that is the case, awesome, right? But at the same time, even the same cycle, there used to be a recruiting package with Arch and Jonte Cook. And what happened to that? Went dead silent, which is why I don't really care for those package deal things. If it happens, it happens. If not, it's whatever. But Jalen Hill's a guy that I really would love to see on the Dogs, right? Listen, it's recruiting. You want to see all these guys. You think there'll be great things. But Jalen Hills kind of has that blend that I think would definitely elevate Georgia's receiving core at that point upon his arrival, basically. So that's another, like I said, that's another guy that I'm excited to see as well. But listen, going back to this class right here, like I said, we've talked about Jamal, right? We've talked about Pup Howard and Janelle Guerrero. Do not underestimate the power of Shams. All right, Shams. I think you look at what Georgia is having a rough time with right now, and that's recruiting offensive line. If you get Shams, that's going to help a lot, right? A lot. Just going to leave that there. Absolutely. You got Bo Hughley, right, which is a great pickup, but we need more, right? We need more because there's a good possibility that your entire starting five is going to be gone. And you know what I mean? So you have to prepare for this. And how do you do that? You get bodies, but at the same time, you want quality. If you're a place like Georgia, you want quality and the bodies, right? You want quality bodies. And I think Georgia has to do that. And Shams is one of those guys that definitely fits those boxes. right? I think you look at what's been going on, right, recently with Shams, right, coming up to Michigan State for an official visit. Right, it seems like he had a good time there. Can Georgia pull that off? Can Georgia get him to commit and be a dog? I think it's very possible. I think it is very possible. But do not count Mel Tucker out at Michigan State. You just can't do it. Um, you shouldn't do it by this point. You just shouldn't. You shouldn't. But listen, obviously, we talked a lot about this recruiting, and there's a lot to come. Right? There's still a lot to come. So keep that in mind as we talk later in the week about what to expect from this weekend, right? What to expect this upcoming weekend? What are our visitors looking like? What should we expect? How is this going to impact, right? It's a lot of recruiting, a lot of official visits coming. So, this is a heavy recruiting month for the DGD podcast, right? But it's all important, right? It builds the future. If you're not a recruiting guy, understand that these guys right now could be the future of your program, your dogs, and a potential national title again. So keep that in mind. Top Dog Talk seems like Georgia also has a lot of momentum with TJ Shanahan. Yeah, that is another excellent point here by Harrison. TJ Shanahan. Oh, sorry, guys. TJ Shanahan is a kid from Texas, offensive lineman. Came in on the first week of June, and I think he's another guy that would absolutely bolster this offensive line. Absolutely, right? I think Georgia, in my opinion, they need true tackles, right? True tackles. I feel like with what we have currently on roster, there's a good amount of guys, almost too much, if you would say, at the true guards, right? True guards and interior offensive linemen. So where do you find those athletic, true tackles at the next level, right? TJ Shanahan's one of them. And then, like I said, Shams this past weekend is also another guy that I think could also play tackle at the next level. Definitely raw, in my opinion, with Shams, but excellent nonetheless. I think his ceiling is going to be extremely high. It's just that's the way I'm looking at it. Absolutely one of those guys that can come in and elevate the room and add. I don't want these depth pieces. I understand it's important, but I want guys that can come in and play, and have a legit shot at playing early. The quality there, right? Looking at what, obviously we kind of got spoiled with Pittman, right? Just saying that, in my opinion. And this is, as Harrison asked, how many tackles do I think we take? I think you see probably two, maybe a third, depending on how other positions fall out. I think you're still going to focus on getting maybe a guard or two as well. But I think you're right. I think you look at finding that right tackle for next year. Because I think after this season, Harrison, you'll see, what we expect is McClendon and Broderick probably, right, be your two tackles. After that, you probably see them go. From there, you have Mims, which is, coming back is going to help, I think, pay dividends for him. But who's going to be that next tackle, right? Is it going to be Ernest Green? And as we see here, UGA gets a commitment, and I want to say it is a offensive guard, Joshua Doogie Miller. If you're not familiar with that, flipping from Penn State, been a lot of talk within the past 24 hours or so, 24 to 48 hours about this. Listen, kind of one of these situations where you're like, why did Georgia take a 3-star? You just heard me talk about this, okay? You heard me talk about these three. Listen, you have to trust what we see, right? What coaches and the coaching staff see. You see him playing about 320, I want to say. I'm telling you now, playing as a guard, watching his tape, it's not the greatest. However, you have to trust the coaching staff what they saw. I think it could be a high risk, high reward type commitment, but it could definitely pay off in the long run for Georgia, for sure. So thanks, Harrison, for letting me know that. I had a feeling it was coming, so I was kind of keeping an eye out for it. But now that we know, that is an excellent point to bring up on the show. Awesome. So the chain gang will be out in effect. Just letting you know, folks. With that being said, I think there's been a lot that's gone on in the past 30 minutes. So, listen, we talked about the recruiting visits this past weekend. Listen, Georgia's going hard for Jamal Jarrett. Georgia's going hard for Tyler Williams and Jonah Aguero, right? I'm going to go back to this and say that this could be the most iconic photo, for what it's worth, at the end of the 23 cycle. You could very well look back on this and say, holy shit, every kid, is a dog, and they were all here at the same time, right? We've had those photos, those iconic photos. That could very well be your next one. And also, make sure you let Jamal Jarrett know where home is, right? Where home is. Help Kristen Miller spread this out. Make it go viral, if you will. Hashtag we want Big Jaw, right? Let him know Athens is his next home, okay? Do it for it. Do it for me. Do it for him, right? Athens is his next home, and let him know that, right? Let him know why Athens is his next home, okay? Just do that. But also, thanks to the brigade for coming out hot and heavy again. Harrison and company, you did it well. Remember, if you're not familiar with it, hashtag Juan Fan Club. Let's get this stuff viral. All right, Juan Fan Club. Hashtag it on social media. Let Juan see it. Right? Let the world see it. Okay? It needs to be said. Hashtag Juan Fan Club. Simple enough. Just hash it out. All right? Just hash it out. With that being said, and thank you for tuning in as well, sir. Thank you for, yes, it has. It has definitely been a minute. With that being said, make sure you understand one thing. Georgia is the best damn university in the country, right? And make sure you let your folks down in Gainesville that for some reason love to see the Gators. This is what, like, I've seen inmates eat better than this, okay? I've seen inmates eat better than this. So let them know, all right? Let them know. Jamal still might be eating that damn cookie he got, by the way. He might still be eating that damn cookie cake when he got to Athens. I'm just letting you know. Listen, they treat you like a king down there. Kristen Miller said it himself. So, listen, you get treated like a king up here. You get fed worse than an inmate down in Gainesville, okay? So let everyone know about that. Let them know, because that shit is terrible. Ain't no kid, especially a recruit, need to eat this. Man, come on, man. I'm telling you, those wings turned me off of that plate. Simple. But the macaroni looks like it was floating in the Titanic or something, like the water with the Titanic. So I don't know. It's soupy. Very, very soupy. Should not be macaroni and cheese that way, okay? Macaroni and cheese ain't supposed to look like that. And as Harrison says, hashtag Juan Fan Club, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Hash it up. Get it out there. Listen, Juan might be the next, who knows? Might be on the coaching staff next thing you know. Who knows? And if you do that, gets it out there, you might see some shit happen. All right? But anyways, on that note, we're going to wrap this thing up. Have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you on the next episode. Go Dogs.